Scairt really.
Former President Richard Nixon suffered a stroke at his home in New Jersey.
People in Northern Ireland, not for a ceasefire over 2 or 3 days, but a permanent...
Nelson Mandela has claimed victory in South Africa's election.
A cry for help from the children of Rwanda.
Hello, this is Sean with Scairt Radio on Profane Existence. First half of the show is a nostalgic look at 1994. Around that time, Dirt and Final Warning were touring the US and Europe. Dirt were gigging a lot around this time and stayed with me in Ireland a few times in the early 90s. And I was in the van with them touring. The main thing I remember in the van was mixtapes of a team from Doctor Who, Arnie the Greatest Milkman in the West. Not what I was expecting. But really nice people who really believed in DIY things. Around this time, John Lee, who does DIYZ, used to sing in Resist and Exist, interviewed Neil from Final Warning and Deno from Dirt at the gig in Orange County. Thanks again to John for the interview.
Alright, starting this interview. What happened at the show today earlier?
What do you mean what happened at the show earlier?
Like someone was trying to steal all your stuff?
Just some girl stole a bunch of CDs and like, someone came up and said that they were stealing, and I kind of ignored it, and then I saw the girl pass it on to some other people, and they're all laughing and giggling about it, and that really was what done it for me. I went over and asked them, and the girl had a whole bunch of CDs in her pocket, and it turns out that this girl, I don't know, I guess she's associated with a bunch of Nazis or something like that. And
associated with Nazis? Was she skinhead or?
I don't know if she's a skinhead, but someone came up to me and said she just hangs out with a bunch of skinheads, so... It just pissed me off that I hate people having to steal. It's like, I give a lot of stuff away, I give a lot of breaks, you know, I don't do this for big profit, and when people steal from me that are part of the scene, it really gets to me, you know.
Are you guys losing money on this tour?
We probably won't make back our initial ticket fare,
that we paid out. But we get some money from the merchandise, and we pay ourselves $5 a day to live on for food and stuff like that. So by the end of the tour, we probably would have covered our expenses, but we won't have any surplus to pay back what we borrowed to buy the tickets. But that's okay. You know.
What do you think about the Orange County here, the show?
This was really cool. It's a great place, and all the people I've met down here are really nice. Well, most of them except for a couple.
And this is your
I would like to say something about this. I know it's not down to Frank, and I know this is the law in this country about the drinking, the under 21s, no drink allowed inside. Mm-hmm. But the problem I see with that is that people are out here drinking, and they're drinking so fast to get in for the bands that they're ending up going in absolutely pissed out of their faces. Whereas if they were allowed to go in and drink slowly, then I don't think it would be quite as bad. I mean, there were people throwing up at it because they were drinking, just knocking their drink back so quickly. And I just wish that it could be done differently, you know. Than
it was a shame about the food not bombs thing as well. I mean,
not being allowed in.
Not being allowed in. I don't understand why they weren't allowed in. I guess there's some law.
No, it wasn't a law. It was the guy who owned the place. He didn't want this to go on, you know.
Is there food not bombs in England?
Not as such. There was, but it's not as active now.
What do you think about the scene here compared to New York?
I don't know. I see the same problem starting. One of the big problems in New York is the drugs. Heroin's really popular in the scene. It's bringing down a lot of people. I've already had 3 friends OD. People like G.G. Allen and that, they glorify the whole heroin scene, and people get into it, and then unfortunately they see it going on there, and then you come here and you see kids trying to copy the New York scene, doing heroin, sniffing glue, whatever. I mean, it doesn't seem as bad here. The drinking as well is a real problem in New York. It hasn't seemed as bad here, you know. If this was a New York show, there'd be kids smashing bottles everywhere. The kids laying all over the street, you know. They seem a lot more respectful here, that's been cool. You know.
Do you see any shows difference from 1994 compared to 1982?
Here, I have a friend or two.
In England?
Yeah, England.
Oh, in England.
Doing your old shows and doing shows now.
In England, it's very different. I mean, there is really not much of a scene in England now. In London, there is nothing. I mean, if you go up north in England, yeah, there's small bunches of people doing stuff, but where we come from in London, there's nothing. There's no unity. There's no support. There's no real active work going on now. There's one, maybe 2 people who are trying to do distro labels, DIY things, but there's no venues to do it. It all happens in normal bars, normal pubs that take a big cut of what the band charges on the door and things like that. Sometimes they set the prices of the door, and people come along. They're just interested in getting smashed out their faces and slagging the bands off.
Yeah, there's a lot of disrespect for bands that are politically still active from the old days and still have the strong beliefs. A lot of the younger punks that are coming up now, I know that their beliefs are so weak, you know. They disrespect a lot of the bands that are still fucking fighting strong, you know. That's real sad.
There's no unity in the bands either. I mean, years and years ago, we used to go to, see Conflict or Flux, and you would see everybody, all other bands watching them. They'd be in the audience, yeah, and that was great. But now you don't see that even, yeah.
What's going on with Final Warning now? Because you released the EP. Is there anything else coming out?
We're going to do a live recording with Dirt, split LP. That's meant to come out on Selfless. And then when I get back to New York, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd like to go to Europe. but I'm not too sure because we have a lot of band problems right now, and we've got to take care of that. So when I get back...
Are you guys going back on tour to the east, or are you going just back home now?
Yeah, we are doing a diagonal up the country now, back to New York. New York will be the last gig, which will be a benefit for ABC on 3 days before we go back.
How old were you when the first Object Refuse Reject Abuse came out?
I was 16 when I joined Dirt, and I think 17 by the time the record came out.
When you guys were on stage, were you doing a Nausea cover?
Yeah, we do 2 Nausea covers, Productive Not Destructive and Electrodes.
What happened to, what's that band? Toxic Waste. You're singing for Toxic Waste now?
No.
You guys did the cover?
I did 4 tracks on the album, and last year they got back together for a tour of Europe, in which I joined and went on the tour with them. But most of them are in a band called Bleeding Rectum now, which are a really good band. And what they did was we did a set with half Toxic Waste numbers and half Bleeding Rectum numbers as like an introduction, because people knew Toxic Waste already, and this was like an introduction to Bleeding Rectum. So the tour went really well, and now they've just gone back as Bleeding Rectum. So.
Are you guys still pacifists? Because I remember reading the old interview. I was wondering.
I would like to think I am. I'm not really a violent person. I don't think anybody in Dirt are violent people, but at the same time, if there was a situation where we had to be involved actively, then I could justify using some form of force. Yeah.
Question for you, like, what happened earlier? How do you deal with people who steal things and they still come to shows and stuff? How do we deal with that? People like that at a show?
I get very upset about it.
No. Yeah.
I mean, I just try and make it clear to them, why are you stealing from someone that is the same as you? I'm not a businessman. I'm not in this to make money. I've been doing it since I was fucking, 15, 16 when I went to my first shows, and I just try and talk to them, say, why are you doing it? If you don't have money, then come to me. I mean, it's known that people come up to me and say, I don't have no money. A lot of kids who came from Mexico to the show the other night. They didn't have no money and they wanted records. They wanted records, so I gave them a bunch of records, because they had no money. And then when people steal like that, it's just like...
It's also the fact that Tribal War Records and also other record labels like that are like letting bands like us and other bands who are maybe not so well known put some recordings out. We've done this split with Mankind. They're not very well known. Neil Tribal War has given them the chance to have a recording on his label, which gets distributed all around the world. He takes trades. People come up and they trade stuff. If they haven't got the money, then he can drop the price or he can trade stuff, whatever. People should not be fucking ripping people who are trying to do something like this. If they want to go and rip Virgin Records off or EMI, go ahead, But this is, we should be sticking together and fighting for the fucking same thing, A
lot of people wanted to know, because when you guys started Dirt, D period, I period, R period, T period. What is that? Did you supposed to stand for something?
No, that got misread. We used to do a song called Death is Reality Today.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people thought that's what Dirt actually stood for, but it's not the case.
What does the symbol stand for?
A symbol doesn't stand for anything. It's I wish it did, because I get asked that question so many times. It was thought up in a dream by our original drummer and bass player's father, and he painted it the next day, and he painted it with an anarchy symbol and a peace symbol coming from the eyes, and we saw this and we thought it would be a really good backdrop to use for us. Since then, the anarchy symbol and the peace symbol had to be cut off because it didn't fit on the stage along with Cress's banner. So maybe it would have been more explanatory if we'd have had those symbols on, but no, it doesn't mean anything.
What do you think about people who have dirt tattoo?
Sorry?
What do you think about people who have a dirt tattoo on their body?
I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed because, I mean, a tattoo is for life and it's a special thing. To me, I think it's a special thing. It needs thinking about what you're going to do, and to see that, you know, I mean, I don't really understand this thing that why people want to do this, but I know I like the symbol. I think it's a good symbol, as you know, but I don't know what to say, really. It freaks me out.
Okay, you have a song called Eyes of the Child, but a lot of like other bands and other people say, oh, that's been done a lot, singing anti-war songs, and what would you like to say to that?
I mean, basically everything I do has been said before, but nothing's changed. So I'll keep on saying it. You know, there's a lot of young people getting involved that didn't get the message, and they need to be kept up, you know, being told what we're talking about, you know. I mean, war's still going on, we're all still singing against it, but it's still going on, so the message ain't going, you know, so we've got to keep on saying it.
Didn't you guys have like a squatting movement in New York?
Yeah, there's a big squatting movement. It's a big squatters movement, but they're really coming down on the whole squatting movement.
They were throwing you kisses. No, he wants a cigarette. What a cheap date.
Like in England now, they're passing a new law against squatting that will make squatting illegal, and they want to do it in New York. They're planning on kicking out one of the biggest squats, which is on 13th Street. Basically, they say they're making way for low-income housing, which they always say to try and get the community behind them. And then normally the low-income housing will last for about 2 years, and then they'll sell the building off to, you know, real estate people, and boom, gentrify the neighbourhood. So there is a good squatters movement. There's still a lot of cool squats. There's a lot of bad squats as well, with a lot of drugs. They're really bad.
What do you like and dislike about America?
I love the countryside, and I love some of the people that I've met, but I hate the whole American way of life ideal. I don't know, it's like the people I've met don't seem to have these kind of beliefs that they've probably been brought up with and instilled in them. They're fighting against that. I hate the way the Americans treat the poor, and the discrimination over it it seems far worse than it is in England. What really does piss me off, though, is the fact that how England really is trying to be like America. Our government is pushing for new laws that are very similar to over here. The whole welfare system we have over there, the national health, the hospitals, they're all sliding down. Yeah, everything is going the way to be like America, and I don't understand why.
Okay, last question. Any upcoming stuff for Dirt, like your goals?
Sorry, can you say that?
Your goals for your band? Like any new upcoming stuff? What do you want to do with this band?
I don't know, man. I'm no summer.
Like what? Like what do you guys want to do, and what do you?
I'm really enjoying being back in the DIY scene again. Yeah, I mean, to me it seems a lot stronger now. The actual DIY scene is a lot stronger now than it used to be in the early 80s. That is
in England.
Yeah.
Really?
No, all over. It's in. I said earlier about London. I don't even speak for London. I mean, I'm talking about Europe and America even. It seems that there's a lot more people who are doing their own little thing, which is all helping out into one big thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just want to be able to stay in that scene. Yeah. And whether we can release any more material, I don't know. If it's possible, we'll go ahead. I'm really happy to be touring, and I want to keep touring, getting out there, getting to different countries, meeting people, getting to different cultures and stuff. That's what I want to do.
Are you guys gonna come back next year? Or
I'm not sure. I mean, Dirt want to come over, but
no final warning?
oh, well, I'll get to that. Dirt want to come back. I'd like to. There's a lot of other bands that have a lot of messages and that I think it'd be good for them to tour as well and get them some exposure. I mean, I've enjoyed doing this. I wanted to tour America. I'm glad I've done it. But I'd like to see other bands given a chance. So, I mean, I'll probably come on the tour, but I don't know if Final Warning will.
All right. Any last comment?
It's been great hanging out with you guys. You guys are very active. It's very cool to see it. It's very inspirational to see people still standing by the beliefs. And thanks for everything.
Last comment for the readers?
Well, my last comment would be how I've noticed that there's a real big segregation thing over here. We don't seem to have that so much in Europe and in England. Yeah, it's like punk is divided up into so many different labels, and people are going by these labels. No one needs labels. We should all be sticking together. You know, don't label yourself one thing and segregate somebody else because they are like in a different form of punk music or hardcore music. Everybody should be uniting together, and we can build something strong, I hope.
All right, thanks.
face as you accept my final breath. Away to die. Away to die. See the gun in your hand, and I know it's dead. I see that smile on your face as you accept my final breath.
That was the great Bleeding Rectum. We're back together and touring. Before that, Dirt from 1994 released Sent to the Kill with their version of Toxic Waste, Listen Margaret on Skuld. When I was putting together the podcast this week, I reckon it'd be good to play some releases from 1994 when the Dirt and Final Warning interview was done. So many good bands were released that year. In Sweden, Driller Killer's first album came out, Distortion.
Nowhere to run, no
Profane existence in '94. What a year. Aus-Rotten released Fuck Nazi Sympathy on Havoc. In Japan, 1994, Disclose first album came out. That was Excrement of War from the 1994 release, Calico Ray Coma. I remember when it was first released on CD, there was a big anti-CD thing at the time, so it got released on cassette tape very quickly by Riot Zine. Mags, who was a friend of mine who sang with them, died earlier this year. 15 years later, just as much is happening. Now some new releases from 2009. Avskum are touring Japan in December, and here's a track from the Japan Tour EP in Prank Record.
Lights out? Good. Doors closed? Blinds drawn? Excellent. Is an unreleased track from Unkind from Finland.
On the Fringe is a new talk podcast on Profane existence. First show was up during the week, which dealt with the death penalty and the prison system. Definitely check it out if you like what you're hearing and would like to support future podcasts. Please send a donation at www.profaneexistence.org/donate. Now, all the way from Kuala Lumpur, this is Anti-Protocol with Human Division on Black Seeds record. That was War Plague, released by Moshpit Tragedy, and this is Mourn with Twilight Burns out in Feral Ward.
king feared his name, Scarecrow. On the southern coast of England, there's a legend people tell of days long ago when the great Scarecrow would ride from the doors of hell and laugh with a fiendish yell. With his clothes all torn and tattered, through the black of night he'd ride. From the marsh to the coast like a demon ghost, he'd show his face then hide, and he'd laugh till he split his side. Scarecrow, Scarecrow, Scarecrow. The soldiers of the king feared his name. Scarecrow, Scarecrow, Scarecrow. The country folks all loved him just the same.
Now, requests. This is Kismet Hardcore with the song Token Victories, and thanks to Jan for sending in the unreleased track. Sly from London requested Left 4 Dead. What a great band. Uji Falusi from Northern Ireland. Thanks again for listening. Send suggestions, etc. to protestscene@yahoo.com or leave a message on profaneexistence.org. Next show is a special on the DIY scene in the Philippines. No Malachi.